Hey, what's up y'all? I'm Charlie. On today's episode, I'm going to be showing y'all how to make my homemade, well-seasoned, oven-baked mesquite honey barbecue spare ribs. That's right. Now, we first start off by cleaning the ribs and we season them, then we marinate them. And once we marinate them, we're going to bake them in the oven for a few hours until nice and tender. Then we're going to make a homemade barbecue sauce, which is well seasoned, of course, with a little sweetness to it. And we coat that onto the ribs, and then we place it into the broiler part of our oven so that way it can have that nice barbecue taste and flavor. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this recipe could serve up to 2 people, or you can increase the recipe to serve more people, or you could just have it for yourself. Simple. And it is absolutely delicious. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, here's all what you'll need to make your mesquite honey barbecue spare ribs. Let's get started with our ingredients. You will need 4 to 8 pounds of spare ribs, unsalted butter, 1 6-ounce can of Hunt's tomato paste, no salt added. Now you will increase this to 2 cans if you're making 8 pounds of ribs. Alright, and along with that you'll need some vinegar, molasses, sugar, brown sugar, honey, hickory smoke liquid smoke, mesquite liquid smoke, and for your seasonings you'll need some salt, Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. You can also use Zatarain's Creole seasoning or Slap Your Mama Cajun seasoning. And you will also need some Chef Paul Prudhomme's pork and veal magic. Now I'll have the link to where you can purchase these seasonings in the description box. And you will also need some cayenne pepper and Grill Mates mesquite seasoning by McCormick. And to bake your spare ribs, you will need some aluminum foil and an 11 by 17 inch baking pan. And there we have it. Alright, let's get straight to it. I'm going to go ahead and turn my faucet on. And I'm just going to rinse my ribs off with cold water. Now I like to do this step as a precaution to rinse off any blood or particles that might be on the ribs, okay? Now you don't have to follow this step if you don't want to. Alright, here we have the back of the rib, and as you can see back here, there's this little membrane on the back of the ribs. But what I'm going to do is we're just going to pull this off. You have to be very, very gentle with it and just pull. And as you pull, don't be too tough on it, just pull it just a little bit. You have to be very patient with it. And I'm just gently pulling this off. I'm applying a little force, so just be very, very gentle with it and it'll come off. And there you go, mission accomplished. Alright, now at this time we're going to take some napkins and we're just going to pat the ribs dry. Now as you can see, I'm doing one rib, but this is just a part of the presentation. I'm going to do the other one in just a second. Now if your ribs have any type of excessive fat or anything like that, you just take your knife and you just trim that fat off. I just actually just went through the rib and just sliced off some pieces of fat or whatever. Alright, we placed our ribs into a large baking pan, 11 by 17 inch baking pan exactly. And here we have the mesquite liquid smoke with a pastry brush, as you can see here. And we're just going to take the mesquite liquid smoke and we're just going to brush it onto the ribs. And we're going to add it to the other side as well. Now you can add as much as you like, it doesn't really matter. Alright, now we're going to sprinkle the mesquite seasoning onto the ribs. Add as much as you like, you don't have to measure it or anything. And don't forget to do the other side as well. Now we're going to lightly sprinkle some salt. Now make sure you get on both sides of the ribs. Now we're going to sprinkle some Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. you want to make sure you get the other side as well. Some Chef Paul Prudhomme's pork and veal magic. Just gonna sprinkle that on top. Now if you don't have this, just get you some smoked paprika with some onion and garlic powder and just sprinkle that on top. Now we're gonna lightly sprinkle some cayenne pepper. Just lightly. Now if you don't want the cayenne pepper on your ribs, you don't have to add it if you don't want to. And lastly, we're gonna lightly sprinkle a little bit of sugar. Now I know some of y'all probably thinking, sugar on ribs? What? But you know what the trip part about it is that we're adding it into the barbecue sauce anyway, so makes sense, right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take some aluminum foil, and we're just going to wrap the pan with the aluminum foil. Now we're going to go ahead and place this into our refrigerator, and we're going to let this marinate for 2 hours, or you can let it marinate overnight. Alright, let's get started with making our barbecue sauce. So in a medium-sized glass bowl, we're going to add 6 ounces, that's the 1 entire can of Hunt's tomato paste, no salt added, 2 tablespoons of vinegar, 1 tablespoon of the hickory smoke liquid smoke, and 1 tablespoon of the mesquite liquid smoke. I combine them together. Just add that in there. 2 tablespoons of molasses, 2 tablespoons of honey, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, and if you like a little bit more heat, you can add 1/4 to a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Now I'm going to take my whisk and I'm just going to carefully give this a quick stir. Now you want to stir this until creamy and smooth. Now if you feel as though this is not enough barbecue sauce, you can double the recipe. Alright, I'll let my ribs marinate overnight. Let me just remove this off here. Alright, here I have 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and I cubed it, of course. I'm just going to add that around the baking pan. This one. I'm going to just stick one piece underneath that. Take the other one, I'm going to just stick it underneath there. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 350 degrees. Now go ahead and cover this again with the aluminum foil. Now here I have a little fork here, and we're just going to take the fork and we're going to poke holes onto the top of the aluminum foil, and this is to make sure that the steam escapes while the ribs are baking. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and place this into a preheated 350 degree oven on the bottom rack. And we're going to let it bake until the ribs are tender. Now I'm going to let you know the baking time once we're finished. Alright, our ribs should be done, so let's go ahead and remove them out of the oven. And I baked them for about 3 hours total, okay? And of course, I had to bake another 4 pounds of ribs because 4 pounds just ain't enough. So I baked an additional pan. Alright, and here we have our 2 pans here. And this is, show y'all how this looks here. And there's our ribs, y'all. Look at that. I had a couple of more pieces of rib that I baked. Now to tell if the ribs are tender, just take a fork and stick it in there, and it lets you know that they're nice and tender. But you can also see that they're quite smaller than usual, and they kind of pretty much falling off the bone here. And they have this they have these pan juices. I'm gonna show y'all what to do with that in just a minute. Now if your ribs are not tender, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna cover this and you're gonna place this back into a preheated 350-degree oven, and you're gonna bake it for an additional 30 minutes to an hour, or until the ribs are tender. Okay, now I've taken the ribs and I placed them on this serving plate. Over here is an example of some pan juices that I reserved from a couple of dishes that I make. But if it's bacon, pork, beef, whatever, I just take the pan juices and put it in this little container, and once done I just put it in my refrigerator. Alright, now that we have our pan juices drained, now we're going to take our aluminum foil, the same aluminum foil that we covered our pan with, and we're just going to add it into the baking pan like this. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and add our ribs into our baking pan. Now I'm going to go ahead and set my oven broiler to high. Alright, here I have a pastry brush with our barbecue sauce. And we're just going to take the barbecue sauce and we're just going to brush that onto the ribs. But don't add too much, because you want to make sure you save it, just in case if you have more barbecue sauce to put on some other ribs. Get it from this side first. Alright, now we're going to place our ribs into the broiler part of our oven. Now what you're going to do is, you're going to let this sit for about 2 to 3 minutes, then you're going to flip them over, then you're going to let them sit for an additional 2 to 3 minutes, and then from there you can remove them out of the broiler part of the oven. Okay? Alright, our ribs should be about done. Go ahead and remove them. Now you're going to go ahead and let your ribs sit for about 5 to 10 minutes before serving. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a bite of this. Yes. Man, when I tell y'all, the ribs are nice and well seasoned. That marinade has gotten inside the ribs, give it a wonderful flavor. It has a nice mesquite flavor too. Ooh, got a little kick to it from the cayenne pepper and the Tony sachets. Ooh, and that barbecue sauce. Yes! And then it has a wonderful, it tastes like it actually came off a barbecue grill, especially when we added it into the broiler part of the oven. I mean, amazingly good. I mean, it's nice and tender, falling off the bone, delicious. Yes, 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 yes. Hey y'all, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell button if you want to be notified of my videos. I have an official website for all of my recipes, including this magnificent spare ribs recipe. You can go to www.charliethecookandrews.com. I'm also on Facebook and on Instagram under the name Charlie the Cook Andrews. So until next time, take care, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.